Hello investors and SNDL community, welcome back. Sundial Growers entered into a bid arrangement for the ZENABIS Global Incorporated's asset. This is old news. In my last video, I promised that we would talk about the timeline and try and get ahead of Zach's press releases. That's what we're going to be doing in this video. I'm going to go through some of the timing with you and tell you what to expect in the weeks and months coming up. Maybe we're talking about a timeline that's too far off, but I want to tell you what to expect because it could be only weeks away that we see a reverse stock split. So it could be within 2 weeks, July 15th. I think it's going to be here sooner than people think. ZENABIS aims to be a major player in the cannabis industry. So what happened? Why did Hexo kick them to the curb? And what is the restructuring document saying in the restructuring center? Canadian cannabis producer ZENABIS gets their fourth CEO in 2 years. Fourth CEO in 2 years makes it really difficult to have a strategic direction within the company or a stable sales process that can be enforced without duplicate processes. That's my thoughts, but let's take a look at the restructuring document center and specifically one document in here. We're going to go through it briefly. I'm going to give you a summary of the ZENABIS Group, the Canadian cannabis cultivator founded in 2014. It was originally known by the name of International Herbs Medical Marijuana Ltd. It had 3 active product lines. ZENABIS, the medical cannabis, which I understand everyone's excited about having a medical arm, official medical arm, and not just recreational cannabis in Sundial. Makes sense, right? But we just got away from all of these cash burning elements that has brought this stock down. Also the dilution by issuing out share after share after share, which makes me believe that if we're going to turn this company around, it has to go through a reverse stock split, and we have to recognize these financials. So the payday is going to come for Alcana. It's just not today. July 15th, I believe, still is that reverse stock split date, but it's active product lines for ZENABIS. Let's not get distracted. The active product lines, ZENABIS Medical Cannabis. We had Namaste Recreational Cannabis and Re-Up Recreational Cannabis. 3 product lines. It was publicly traded, listed on the Toronto Stock Exchange originally, or the TSX. On February 16th of 2021, it entered into a definitive arrangement agreement with Hexo, HEXO. People have asked me about Hexo. I think it made it down to 22 cents, came back up to 24. I'm not sure where it's at right now. The transaction was completed on June 1st of 2021. It became increasingly apparent that anticipated operational and financial synergies that had been anticipated from the arrangement was not being recognized in a meaningful way, and ZENABIS Group consistently produced net losses due to a variety of external market factors as well as general and operational financial underperformance. Now, in the fall of 2021, the ZENABIS Group began to try and rationalize operations, either unprofitable or duplicate. They started to go through a restructuring. Now they're going through another one. They winded down 2 of its 3 plants, making one sole plant the focus. They implemented a sales process, which surprisingly they didn't have before. Negotiations on their debt, tried to resolve contingent liabilities, and they reorganized activities and operations with that sole remaining plant to reduce operational cost and optimize resource allocation. This plan did not result in sufficient improvement in the company's financial results, and since the closing of the arrangement with Hexo has been providing operational and other support due to ZENABIS's financial losses. Now Hexo couldn't do this any longer, and they informed ZENABIS Group that it would no longer support its operational losses. Now that the company can no longer meet their obligations, they came due and led to a formal restructuring process, and that's why we're looking at this document now. And we're looking at these details within this restructuring process and why Sundial is actively pursuing their assets. Now, since the closing of the arrangement with ZENABIS Group, it has not produced standalone financial statements, and this makes sense because it was combined with Hexo. So using the consolidated trial balance for ZENABIS, an estimated income statement and balance sheet were prepared with a 9-month range ending in April 30th of 2022. There was a net loss of $102.5 million and net revenue of $41.1 million. The business was spending a lot more than they were accruing in revenue, even after all of this restructuring. The net loss was driven by operational losses and significant impairment charges. Now, the impairment charges were a reduction in value of the company's assets. The company had shareholder deficit of $45.2 million and assets of $83.3 million. Lost more money than the owners put into the company in the first place. Total liabilities of $128.5 million. The company carries significant contingent liabilities from their secured debenture holder and the landlord of the production facility. The current monthly average operational cash burn is an estimated $0.4 million. There's also a cash flow forecast in section 31. The cash flow forecast reflects a cash burn of $0.9 million over a 16-week period. Now, the math here for me doesn't add up, which is much lower, and ZENABIS plans to reduce its cash burn by implementing additional cost-cutting measures, such as including right-size payroll, reducing operational expenses, and optimizing inventory levels. I think they've had the opportunity to do this before, and I'm not sure if they can necessarily hit these targets in the future. So last but not least, let's go through the Sale and Investment Solicitation Process, or the SISP, which is a two-phase bidding process which will take place over a 113-day period starting on July 6th of 2022. So some people may be anticipating some type of news to come out on July 5th, but the potential bidders will be contacted and provided with a teaser. The potential bidders who enter into a non-disclosure agreement will be provided with a confidential information memorandum and access to a virtual data room. Potential bidders then can submit a non-binding letter of interest, or an LOI, for the purchase of all or some of the assets, basically a deadline of August 15th of 2022. For the letter of intent to be considered, it must be met with conditions of binding procedures. Then lastly, on August 19th of 2022, the LOI that were favorable for Phase 1 qualified bids shall be deemed a Phase 1 satisfactory bid. Now, if there's no other bids after Phase 1, it doesn't go on to Phase 2. They just settle it in Phase 1. But if there's multiple people that bid and qualify, then it'll go on to Phase 2, and that's how you can get into those 113-day periods after July 6th of 2022. So it's no telling how long this will go on, but I would add that date of August 15th to your calendar to expect some news. Potentially Sundial is the only one chasing after this, but I'll keep you updated. That's all I've got for this video. If you enjoyed this, be sure to subscribe to the channel, give the video a big thumbs up, and I'll see you in the next one.